continued even after troops made the mistake of shooting. So they say to you, if they break your economy down, they will bring civil war to your country and break and destroy it. IMF. Let's go on. Where's the crisis? The argument usually goes like this. So they're telling you the game, the IMF. Global currency markets now trade in excess of 2.
Yeah, my internet kicked off for a minute. Had to fucking restart it. My bag. But well, hopefully the other viewers jump back in here. I'm just gonna save, well not save, but post one of my YouTube videos to colossal.com. 'If you haven't checked out colossal.com, please go ahead and do that. COLOSSILL.com. You can find us on Facebook as well, colossal.com on the Facebook site.
$1.5 trillion a day. They move the money back and forth. Billions more slush around into stock and bond market. This has created a huge electronic herd of traders. But when a herd this big stampedes, small and large countries that have opened up their economy to it can be crushed. Now you see why China, Vietnam, India, and now Africa will not become part of this system. Because if you hook into with the stock and bond and all this other, they tell you they're going to crush you with it because you are playing the game. Super regulatory, therefore the argument goes the world needs some kind of super regulatory body that will control the capital markets and protect all these countries from wild stampedes or further crisis. The turmoil and pain in Indonesia are obviously tragic. They are the inevitable results. This civil war, the chaos, the breakdown of the country. You saw what happened in Indonesia, right? Killing people in the street, people are starving, they can't eat. This is the inevitable result of the country that got connected to the global market without sufficient rules of law, institution, building, or any fair division of the spoils. When market forces conclude that Indonesia's economic growth was unsustainable without more domestic reform, they stampeded. Somebody called in the credit card. Sure, all three of these countries, Indonesia, Thailand, and South Korea, have been hit by the global markets with pain, unemployment, and bankruptcy. So when Kabila and the Congo, Uganda, and Central Africa begin not to deal with these global markets and let the people begin to get the pickaxes and shovels, they are doing like China did. They closed the borders and let the people build a country. Therefore, you do not have these loans that you have to pay back. So when you see them not using the IMF, and you see them saying we're going to pick up the pickaxes and stuff, the same way they forced us to build a country to bring it to the point, they will come out, Africa will come out strong in 20, 30 years like China is strong because they won't be locked down in all this debt. So for now, this is the IMF telling you what you should be doing, but they forgot to tell these people this. But for now, the only choice is for countries to go more slowly in integrating with the global economy. So they're telling you, if you got any smarts, I wouldn't join this international loan shark racket we got going called the IMF and World Bank. For now, the
What
only
it do,
choice
bro?
is for countries to go more slowly and integrated with the global economy while making sure that as they do,
Nah. All that Snowden went
they
away.
are building the regulatory
Hope it
institutions
stay
at
gone
home
too.
needed to tap these electronic herds and to protect themselves. He's telling you, don't join it. You don't need them. Indonesia, they're going to tell you how they did it to Indonesia. But when Mr. Suharto pledged in a somber television address in The Nation today, this is the New York Times 5/1998, that to the nation today that he would step down from the office, the force that brought him to this point after 32 years was not a communist insurgency, but a conspiracy of far more potent subversiveness. They're telling you, capitalism, markets, and globalization brought him down and destroyed his country. Instead of hiding in the jungle, they established a fifth column. Who? The banks, the IMF and World Bank. They're telling you what they did to Indonesia and all of these countries. They. Who they? The capitalism, markets, globalization, these money traders. Instead of hiding in the jungles, they established a fifth column in the glass and steel towers in the major cities. And Mr. Suharto's security forces never figured out how to handcuff them or bring them under submission. These forces, coming from the IMF, is telling you, these forces set off the Asian financial crisis. They pulled the money from them to get what they have. And Mr. Suharto's armament was suddenly useless. His sophisticated military equipment could not be used. The turmoil here underscores the way that the financial crisis in the shaping Asian politics and society as well as business. This crisis has already helped usher in new governments. They break your government down into places in Thailand, South Korea, as well as help to assure the rise of China coming. Asian leaders are being forced to open up their economies and political systems to break down the collusive link. So what they're just trying to do this in Africa with this trade bill because the Africans aren't going along with the scheme. So they got to try what you call trickery. Historic shift now underway signify a landmark in the decline of the old order in Asia in a way that the popular uprising in 1848 marked the eclipse, etc. Here is an article where they're pretty much saying that China is not going. China's entry into the World Trade Organization is unlikely. China has officially decided they're not joining the IMF. The World Trade Organization, when they set it up in 1945, when the Europeans set up in 1945, the IMF and the World Bank. The difference is the IMF was an attempt to lend money to those countries that had wealth, like
IMF is
oil,
the
Nigeria, and stuff like that.
International Monetary Fund.
Don't have that ready wealth like diamonds and oil you get with the World Bank. So you'll find that in countries like Nigeria, who have tremendous wealth in oil, they may have loans from the IMF. But another country like Angola, not Angola, like Mozambique, which is rich but do not have the diamonds and gold you can readily, they usually get their loans from the World Bank. They're both international loan sharks. But in 1945, when they set it up, that agreement that those Europeans set up, the rules of international trade was called a general agreement of tariff and trade set up all by America and Europe. Now this is no longer viable because the rules are outdated, it has changed, so they have now recreated the World Trade Organization. That's the new gap. The one we read last time where they're trying to force the Africans in. The same loan shark game, different name. But China says we're not joining it. We're not joining the IMF. So who's running it? China, Vietnam, India is mostly out of it, Cuba. Those Central Asian countries are formulating around Iran and those other Muslim countries and the Central African countries. So they're dropping out. They're not buying into it. And so all it says is they're not coming in. Let us start on Clinton's China trip so we get an idea. Is he begging? And And I'm going to read you the two central articles. The purpose is to bring you information than we think, not for me to make the analysis for you. This is from the New York Times, Friday, June 26, 1998. And it's called China's Dynamism and Japan's Inertia. Now, what is happening in Asia? We thought the Japanese were the big boys, the big whatever you call them. And they're talking again. President Clinton's trip to China should put a new vision of Asia into sharp focus. Remember what we said. The Africans are going to have to deal with the Asians. That's going to be your primary trading partner and your adversary. Europeans aren't going to be in the ball game. 50, 60, 70 years. So you got to know this to prepare. President Clinton's trip to China should put a new vision of Asia into sharp focus. One that all but formally recognize that the economic and geopolitical leader of the region is no longer Japan but China. You'll see why. It's a shift that will also have a lasting and profound impact on the world's financial market. The shift in power was made especially clear this month when the U.S. decided to step in to try to stop the fall of the yen, but the emergence of China and the descent of Japan has been obvious. The Japanese dollar is dropping. It's almost like the other one. The value has lost 50% of its value, and there's reasons for it, which we will learn about and talk about if we have the time. So Japanese economy is in the free fall. Asian financial crisis or not, China was moving ahead on the greatest economic reform and restructuring of the country. So you got to watch indicators of how countries develop. When you see Central Africa, that has 200 million plus people, and most of the world's natural resources begin to talk with each other and pool their armies and their politics and begin to build their road system, just begin to project what they're going to look like in 50 years. What you see China like now, it's going to be 5 Chinas. The contrast between Japan and China, Japan inertia, and China dynamism never seemed more dramatic than when the world watched the yen tumble in mid-June. The currency began to fall sharply after the revelation that Japanese economy, the world's second largest, had sunk by a surprising sharp annual rate is 5.3. And of course it has to, because you can't have a strong economy perpetually going and improving while you're doing it on the backs of Asians, you're doing it on the backs of Africans. It's got to stop. It's reaching the point. The valuation of the currency was inevitable for Japanese economy that had lapsed into a new recession. So when they start devaluating your money, your net worth is gone. You saw what they pulled the money out, devaluated Southeast Asia's money, and put a collapse into Thailand, Indonesia, and Korea, because they had joined into the system. That would at least lower the price of Japanese products, promoting the growth of exports. The American Treasury Secretary Rubin initially gave his approval to the solution. He gave a congressional report, testimony on June 11th. Mr. Rubin implied that there was little the authorities could do to stop the yen from falling. In other words, we are not going to put any money to stop the Japanese yen from falling. That was his testimony in Congress June the 11th. Because he's the one who taps into that. Remember that stabilization fund, that $40 billion that they pull out and give to everybody? So we're giving it to the Japanese. Financial markets took matters into their own hand, and in the meltdown of the yen suddenly seemed for real positive. So in other words, the people who trade the money said, you're not going to give U.S. money to prop up Japan? I may lose my money from Japan. Everybody start pulling. And then it drops down again. See, but when you can feed yourself and house yourself in the Congo, you don't care about them playing with the money there. You got something to eat, you got water, you got herbs. That's what counts. There is where China stepped in and said, fearful that a free fall in the Japanese currency would spur another round of currency devaluation elsewhere in Asia, putting more pressure on their economy, the Japanese are saying, Chinese officials made it clear that a chain of events would be unacceptable for them to let the yen drop. Then they placed their trump card to America, warning that they would be forced to reconsider a stance on their currency. If you don't back the Japanese currency, I'm going to do something to my currency you may not like. China was very careful and deliberate in upping the ante, led by two of its most honored ministers, and they go to minister of the central bank. They did not suggest, these two Chinese officials did not suggest that the official policy of a stable yuan. So we're talking about, what are we talking about? We're talking about the yen, the Japanese yen, beginning to drop. Because the economy can no longer grow, and a number of other factors we will see. The Chinese yuan is China. So the Chinese are saying, if you let the yen continue to drop in value, I may do something to my currency you may not like. But of course China's not important, so it don't make a difference. Then they played the Trump card, warning that they would be forced to reconsider the stance on their currency. China was very careful and deliberate in upping the ante, led by two, okay, I read that part. And then it says, they did not suggest the official policy of a stable yen was about to change, but they both voiced their concern about the ultimate implication of an open-ended depreciation of the yen, threatening to devaluate their money. A devaluation by China would cause currencies in Asia to tumble, wreaking havoc on an already stable economy. The currency contagion could have spread to Latin America and Eastern Europe. So China's saying, if I devaluate my money, you might have some repercussions throughout the world. But by the middle of the month, when the yen was plummeting towards 150 against the dollar, China's leaders and global advisors had good reason to fear that the country might not be able to hold its currency stable. So you got this big, powerful Japan on paper about to collapse. And Japan can't feed itself. So the Congo has no stock and no bond and no factory, but can eat. Japan has stock and bonds and factories, but can't feed itself. You cut it off, you collapse the country. Remember what they said in Trilateral, that if the Africans cut off the mineral wealth to the rest of the world, Japan will collapse in 6 months, Western Europe will collapse in 6 months, and America will go out in less than a year. That's your power. You don't need the atomic bomb at this point. And at the point, the world had no choice but to take heed of this risk. And the United States and Japan were forced to step in to start supporting the yen. So China told the United States and Japan, China told them, you U.S. and Japan, you support the yen or I'm going to do something. In the end, it was that simple. China flexed, world financial markets responded. China don't have anything in the stock market here. And global financial officials acted. China's impact as an international economic power has never been greater. But we're going to see why. Courtesy of the recent uprising resumption, and in addition, courtesy of the recent and surprising resumption of nuclear testing by India and Pakistan, two black countries whites no longer control, directly like this, China lose more important in this whole balancing act. Interestingly enough, and it goes on. Later at another lecture, if we're able to come back, or even if we have time, we can then see the impact of the bombs that India and Pakistan exploded. Let's go on. New York Post, 6/24/1998. Beijing blusters and Bill blinks. Now you're going to get details on what the Chinese told the United States, just like Kabila and them. We're running the show now. If you, Clinton, want to come to Africa to have a seat, we'll let you. We don't block the plane. But you don't run anything here. We're running the show. So he had to run over there. Now, why is he running to China? Buck Buchanan, on the eve, this is June 24th, 1998, on the eve of Clinton's departure for China, Beijing decided to snap the White House to attention. Now, these are white folks talking about themselves in relation to China. I didn't write this. The Final Call didn't write it. Snap to attention with a naked threat. And China threatened the United States to send the near-bankrupt economies of Asia into freefall. They'll collapse it all. China's threat took the form of a warning. Either you, United States, and Tokyo intervene to stop the fall of the Japanese yen, or we will let China's currency and the Hong Kong dollar collapse. What did they threaten to do to their money? They'll make it valueless. That's the threat. But you know the United States is rich, it don't mean anything. China was threatening a financial Jonestown. Remember what Jonestown was, right? Everybody died in this one. Richard Pryor tell you, if somebody pull his knife out, if somebody get hurt in there, I'm not going to be the last one. So that's what China is saying. He said China was threatening a financial Jonestown, a U.S. stock market crash while Clinton is standing in Tiananmen Square. Okay? He told him, if you don't do this, let me repeat, the China promised Clinton that if he doesn't support that, he will get a U.S. stock market crash while he's standing in Tiananmen Square. That's hardball. China, go on, it worked. Goldman Sachs Wonder Boy at the Treasury Department, Rubin, ditched his non-intervention. Remember, he just told Congress we ain't lending these people nothing. His intervention to prop up the yen line and dump billions of U.S. dollars to stop it as the White House began to slobber all over the Beijing for its responsibility. Why would Rubin be terrified of Chinese igniting a new round of devaluation? Well, consider the total expenditure and let me give you what I'm reading from so it'll really sink in. I'm reading from this article so you can follow me. The most important part of this whole presentation. So you fully understand what is happening in the world today. When you see we're down where Buchanan's face is, you come over to the left and we're starting at that paragraph. Why would Rubin be terrified of Chinese igniting a new round of devaluation? See, they thought they're the only one who can pull the plug from you and you collapse the Southeast Asia. Well, consider the total exposure of Western banks in Asian emerging market. According to the Financial Times of 1 year ago, U.S. banks had $43 billion of their money in Southeast Asia. The economies, they collapse the economy so that they can buy up everything for nothing. $43 billion, these are in billions, at risk there. Canada's bank had $15 billion. This is U.S. Let's go. This is U.S. These are trilateral countries. This is Canada. See, trilateral is U.S. and Canada is one part. Western Europe is the second, and Japan is the third. The poor countries were trying to hold on to your wealth. Japan, 271 billion. And Europe, 353 billion. Okay, that's what's invested here. As a share or portion of the bank's capital, America has 12%. This money represents 12% of all your money America got tied up in Asia. Canada has 46% of all their money tied up here. Europe has 48% of all its money tied up here. And Japan has 109%. Okay? 109%. Japan is $600 billion in debt they can't collect. You got the game going, and it works as long as the people playing the game are suck it in. Now, when you see this, If China were to devaluate the money, they go on. Put starkly, devaluation by China would set off a new round of currency crisis that would force huge new U.S. IMF bailout or strings of Asian default that could bring down the banks of Japan and Europe and precipitate a worldwide financial crisis. That's how they got it hooked up. But when everything is dropping and falling and tumbling, you still eating in Vanuatu, you still eating in the Congo, you still eating. That's why if you listen to Brother Brown on the radio, he tell you if the computers go out, we're not going to highly computerized. So you never get away from the land where you can eat and drink water, okay? 3 days supply of food to the cities. If 3 days of supply of foods get cut off to the cities, you're going to have civil war in the cities of the United States. You've got to eat. 3 days, if there's no food in the supermarket, you see what people will do. Can someone explain what benefit America derives from the global economy to justify this risk? And he goes on. Last week, Beijing demonstrated two things. China fears its own devaluation less than we do, and in the game of chicken, the Americans will blink first. What could we have done with Beijing issuing? And in this middle paragraph, Buckley goes on to start talking about what we could have done and should have done, but the reality, they didn't do it and they can't do it. And let's go down to the middle paragraph, this last paragraph here, as we conclude the article. America has best wake up. Last week's trade numbers were the most ominous yet. Exports to Asia fell as imports soared. The nation is now running a mercantile trade deficit clocked in April at $260 billion. $260 billion. Now, when you consider that the United States has approximately America has approximately $3 trillion in debt. You see, because the United States, in order to finance all this cheap oil and this food and everything, they use a credit card. That's what the United States had. This deficit is a credit card. You are buying more than you earn. So you say, okay, I want to pay for oil imports. I don't have $260 billion to pay. Okay, I'll sell you some treasury notes. Right? Oil, when they say $260 billion worth of mercantile debt, it means that the United States has imported cars, TVs, radio, computers, but don't have the money to pay for it. Don't have anything to barter. So what they do is issue you an IOU, or they issue you a treasury note. Of the $3 trillion in debt that the U.S. have, $1 trillion is owed to foreigners. So if Japan decides to pull its money from the treasury note, the country goes. Thing is you need food. And accelerated last year, trade deficits, well, last year 200 billion, now it's 260. Though these gigantic deficits in World Bank and IMF loan, America is shoveling money out to nations that
Yo, what's up, guys?
Capturing shares of our
Oh my God, freehanding these letters suck so bad.
and paper, and you
I
split
swear.
the stock.
Even after I do the white, I'm gonna let it dry and then come back with some blue and try to square it up even more. I wish I just had a stencil, but
not to worry about
nah.
this economist, whoever it is, the great betrayal. We send dollars overseas and we get back neat things. It's a good deal. The wealth and poverty of the nation. Why some are so rich and some are so poor? Comparing us to, he's going back to the history. Comparing us to Holland of centuries ago, this writer writes, as branches of the manufacturing have shrunk. He's paralleling what has happened to America, what happened to Europe, using Holland as an example. As branches of manufacturing have shrunk before foreign competition, enterprises have discharged large labor and moved to lower wage. You see all the layoffs, downsizing. New workers cost less. That's your immigrants. Poor immigrants have kept coming. Unions have struck, sometimes only hastening plant closures and transfers of orders to cheaper labor. The British also embraced the free trade as a matter of faith in economic regions. And this writer said, and the British rejected all warnings that their industrial supremacy was vanishing. For to accept that was to accept a challenge to the sacred. We follow the same path of bird blabbering economists notwithstanding, and it goes on. So I just wanted to let you know, to review what has happened when these men meet. And here is Secretary Rubin being assured by the head of the Chinese that they wouldn't devaluate the money and collapse the world economic system and give the United States a stock market crash. And he goes on and they're talking, please don't devalue the money, please. So when they be smiling, it isn't because of anything that he's happy. The Chinese got him. Let's look at what the IMF may look like a year from now, according to the white man who runs the IMF. The IMF. This is New York Times, 6/13/1998. So you gotta tap into what they're thinking about, not what I say or we want to speculate. Let's see what they say. They're thinking in the future. Recently, several prominent former officials and economists, European and American, called for the abolishment of the IMF. Doesn't work anymore for them. So they don't want it anymore. Congress is also holding back the next thing. So Congress don't want to give the money, and the Europeans no longer want to use it because everybody now knows the game. The big people have dropped out. China's out, India's out, Vietnam is out, most of Central Africa's out, and the African countries already told Clinton, we're doing no trade, you're getting nothing, unless you reduce this foreign IMF debt by 90% at least. They're out of here. So what are they saying this? Since all these smart people seem to think the world doesn't need the IMF, I say junk it. Here's what the world would look like a year later. Washington, June 13th, 1998, on the first anniversary of the closing of the IMF. So they're already a year ahead and they got it shut down. They're telling you what they are looking at in a year. This invincible IMF. You must do an IMF. There's no other way to do it. They're saying since all these, Washington, June 13th, 1998, on the first anniversary of the closing of the IMF, the Russian ruble hit a new low of 50,000 yuan. You know Russia has problems with its economy, and we'll go through that. Russia's president, the former General Lebed was a young Russian general who was fighting in Chechnya. You got some people in Russia that made Hitler look like a playboy, and he's one of them. So they're saying that the Russian ruble has collapsed. Russia's in chaos. Russia's president, the former General Lebed, who ousted Boris Yeltsin in a coup, because, Yeltsin came in the coup. Remember they shot up the house and brought the tanks in?
Yeah, Boris Yeltsin got in there.
The Russian economy collapsed
Some violence.
and announced a new export program for getting Russia back on its feet. From today forward, the Russian president said, any Russian company capable of exporting any device, technology, weapon system, or natural resources, including highly enriched radium for atomic bombs, and is encouraged to do so to anyone who can pay hard currency. Everything is for sale. This is your Russian. These are gangsters. They're German. That Russian branch of the German family is, I don't know if it's worse than this, what you call U.S. You understand what they're talking about? So that means you could buy anything you want. He says you will sell anything to anybody with hard currency. America's trade deficit hit an all-time high of $400 billion. Remember, it's 260 now, 260 billion. They're projecting 400 billion of cheap exports from all over Asia, battering economy, flooding into the United States. Finally, remember in 1945 when you had the Bretton Woods? It was in 1945, and it was New Hampshire, and it was the U.S., Britain, and France, who set up the what? The IMF, the World Bank, and blah. Now, what are they saying? The World Bank is out. Finally, the U.S. calls for an emergency meeting of the world's leading industrial nations to try to establish some sort of international monetary fund to deal with the crisis. So
Happy little Bush.
This is out, and that's how we got to put together another scheme. America's offered to hold a meeting in a quiet estate in New Hampshire. Again, We did it in 1945. Now he wants to come back again in 1999. Repeat it. New Hampshire called the Bretton Woods. But the other world powers, showing contempt for a weak United States, suggested they have it in Shanghai, China. See what's coming? Almost simultaneously, New York Times, 5/24/1998. Almost simultaneously, the White House backed down from threats of sanction against European firms for doing business with Iran and Libya. These threats sounded tough. Any global company doing these deals there would be put on notice that it would suffer severe sanctions from the United States. Can't even knock off Cuba, but they're going to sanction somebody. The strategy backfired. This is not speculation. This is what happened this year. We already saw past the. So if you're in a year from now, if there's no IMF, they told you they're ready to scrap it. The strategy backfired when the United States threatened these companies. Rather than create an alliance against the so-called terrorist state, Libya, and all the people they don't like, it created an alliance against the Americans. Assumption that Washington could set foreign policy for the world. Albright told you, we run in the world. The problem is that the sanction implies a leverage we don't have anymore. Anyone, said David Rothkopf, a former top Commerce Department, in 1946, when half of the world's trade went through the United States, we could impose these kind of control. The United States was strong. Came out of World War II, the dominant power. That's why they were successful in putting the Shah there, knocking off Mobutu, and they set up Suharto. All of these men, they set up. That's what the United States was powerful. Now you're 30-something years down the road. Not only aren't you the only one who don't have the bomb,
so I got
but
that
China
done.
is now in the
It only took 30 minutes.
China in 1945 wasn't a country.
But yeah, I'm gonna still have to come back and straighten some of those letters up. But it
After
looks
World
nice.
War II, they fought and then established in 1949. So China's moved from 1949, not in a country,
Yeah,
to
freehand,
now
no stamps. So
could wield this kind of power. Said not only in 1946 we in America control, in 1946 when half of the world's trade went through the U.S., we could impose these kind of controls, but they, when less than 14% comes through the United States. And you see that 14% is just zizzing away as quickly as they move the factories out. It's rapidly dropping.
oh yeah.
You can't, at one time you control, the white man control all the oil. He doesn't control it. He controls the copper and the rubber. That control is gone. So they can't squeeze you anymore. When they try to squeeze Cuba, what did Cuba do? The African countries traded with. Who give Cuba oil? Mexico, Trinidad, Venezuela, Angola, Nigeria. How are you going to embargo Cuba? And you got all these countries helping Cuba. You no longer control. At one time they could have controlled it, but they can't do it anymore. Today, when 14% go to the United States, we can't control it. Mr. Clinton was lucky to save face with a deal in which the Allies swore to fight proliferation if America waived these sanctions. First, this is their rule. First is the ideological rule. Passionate national causes, countries, particularly in the urge of self-sufficiency. He's describing what these countries are driving for. Nobody's driving to be a lackey to white or Chinese to anybody. They said these countries, this is their rule first, is ideological rule. Passionate national causes, particularly in the urge for self-sufficiency, almost always trumps economic rationality. In other words, you can't tell a country like Pakistan, if you drop them bombs, I'm going to sanction you. So they say sanction me. Their national pride and their security is more important than a little bit of food. That's why the Indians pressed the button and why the North Koreans and Iraqis and Serbs have been so adamant. Rule number 2. Second is the sanction rule. Unilateral sanctions almost never work, especially if you only control 13% of the world's economy. Global economy. In a global economy, there are too many producers of almost everything. So when brothers and sisters tell you that that Kabila must deal with the United States, they don't deal with it. You can just take the United United States and Europe and wipe it off the face of the earth, and Africa would be better off for it. Asians would be better off. There's nothing you have to come to here or the European for. As he say what they tell you, in the global economy, there are too many products, too many producers of almost everything. Finally, the Suharto rule. When you open your economy, you better make sure that you have your act together, because we'll rip your guts out. With an economy not dominated by corruption, with banks that can absorb shocks, and with a way to assure investors that things won't go to pieces if the government falls. Otherwise, you risk the 1996 equivalent of a military coup, a market coup. They destroy you through this money, which is more dangerous than any CIA move against you. But go on. Let's talk about the Japanese so that you can see where they are. It says crisis in banking in Japan, but implications are global. Remember, none of this applies to us in Africa. We got food, we got wood. If Africa shut the borders and just traded with each other, which is the best thing in the world you could do, we'd be better off, because what is it that you need outside your border? And with Japan in this shape, Japan, you could buy anything you want, okay?
Yo, what up, Joe?
You're the finance minister of the Congo. You want an airplane factory? You got diamonds, uranium? Japanese will put a factory there. They will need some food. You want some food? You want some wood? You want some this? So you're already in the key bargaining position, and you barter. You don't go through the IMF long sharks. You barter, and that's how countries are coming back to. That's why the Japanese, the Chinese, everybody was at that meeting when they met there, when Clinton ran to. But you can't understand that. So when Kabila is going to Switzerland, he's going to get that money back out of them banks the same way the Jews are squeezing the Swiss. You just tell them, look, you want some oil to heat so you don't freeze this winter? You ship the money back. You do it from power. Japan's economy is in recession. Its stock market is down 60% over 8 years, and its currency has cascaded 43% from its high. This is an increasing consensus among Japanese politicians, though not through the economists, that the problem centers on the challenge that the government goes on here. And I'm only going to have the article, I'm only going to read the key parts. The centerpiece, now Japan is in big trouble. The economy, the banks are collapsing. Look at what they say. The banks in Japan have $600 billion in debt. It can't collect from those Asian countries. It can't, the scheme is not working. So what happens? What do? Listen how they do it. The same thing they did to you in the United States. I need this one right here, that one. The centerpiece, now Japan is trying to extricate itself from this $600 billion debt. The Chinese, it has forced the United States and Japan to support the yen so it doesn't drop. Know what the Japanese going to do? The centerpiece of this total plan that the Japanese government would be the creation of a government bridge bank, BRIDGE. Remember what the South Koreans did to their people? They took all that private debt, and then they assumed it and gave the debt to the government, right? And who pays the bill? The people. This bridge bank they're going to build, that would take over the loan portfolio of the failing banks, reselling good loans and writing off bad loans, with the taxpayers absorbing the losses. Just like they did to you with this bank crisis. And you want to tell Angola to run your country like this? You want to tell Kabila this is the mess you want to join? These dishonest crooks. Europeans are dishonest crooks. We got honest crooks, they're dishonest crooks. And it goes on, and I can give you this later. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 20 of the top Japanese banks are all bankrupt. According to their records, they're broke. So if you want to be a good Japanese, and if you're an African, you want to imitate the Japanese, go ahead. What I would like to do, as we give you this second handout, we're going to go because we have the time, into missiles, atomic energy, to see how it ties in relation that gives China its power. Yeah. There's one that is original. Yes, hold on to original. In this handout, you will see dealing with the three things that you need in order to deliver atomic bombs or hydrogen bombs into a country. It's very important because these nuclear weapons give you a leverage. Very important leverage you need to keep these monsters off your back. And you will see how China kept them off their back when they threatened them with the financial. Basically, you have the Earth. You have a missile. This missile, you must have missiles. Specifically ICBMs. And they must be able to travel 6,000 miles at least. You strike each other over the North Pole. Because the people who are giving you the trouble in Europe and America are in the Northern Hemisphere. So you know that's why you're going to use the North Pole. You come across the North Pole, and whatever country decides to launch, and you have the United States sitting here. Or you can add Europe. You come across the North Pole to strike. But in order for you to come across, you have to have a satellite. You have to have a targeting satellite so that you can get your guidance system. So whenever you see a country like India that has a space agency that's launching their own satellites, they got the satellites. They have these very powerful rockets, the most powerful because they brought them from Russia. So they have the capability to deliver. They have the satellite, and they just set off 5 atomic and 1 hydrogen bomb, so they got it. We don't know how close India is from its ability to strike the United States. And India told you after the Iraqi war, don't fight the United States without nuclear weapons. So if you look at this diagram, you will see the 3 components. You need the missile, you need the satellite, and you need the warhead. And there was a General Walters from the United States government that was a UN ambassador. He said his job was to go around to different countries and give them an offer they couldn't refuse. And you know part of the offer was, we'll kick your behind with this and our economy. This is what you need to strike. Who has this capability? China, Russia, India. So you don't want nuclear blackmail on them. You swing over and go up. You see the space shuttle? The space shuttle has 2 basic purposes. It's to deal with satellites. Satellites must be placed, repaired, and recovered. Because without satellites, you cannot have any kind of electromagnetic communication. You can forget all your TV, all your radio, all your phones, and all the military. You must have satellites because a satellite put 22,000 miles above the Earth stays above that point. It's called a geodetic orbit. So if you put it lower, if you put it 22,000 miles above the Earth, as the Earth spins, it will stay over that position.
Joe,
and
back.
then you beam from something here, you hit here, and you come down. That's how you get all your satellites, all your TV, everything. If the United States loses the capacity to put satellites, repair and recover them, you can forget it. Communication, telecommunication. That's why you need communications through the ground as well as the satellite. So you don't give up your ground communication. That's how important that space shuttle is. Also, it's important for the International Space Station. This is critical because in order for you to try to rectify in order for China to be able to make this threat to the United States, it had to have certain things in place. You know when a guy comes to you, this loan shark, and you want to break your leg. But you see, when you put your hand in your pocket, he's not sure, so you back him off. So that's why the space station is important, for those satellites, and they're building an International Space Station. The International Space Station is built by the trilateral countries, 16 countries. all white, except for Japan. So it's those trilateral countries, Russia, Japan, and the trilateral. Who's the trilateral? Look at Western Europe. England, France, Spain, Portugal, Germany, all your former colonial powers, because they're now hooking up to try to get as much dominance in space for telecommunications and other things. But also what is happening, let's look at the space station. It's trilateral countries. Russia is part of it, because Russia is not an official trilateral country. It's going to cost them $40 billion. You'll pay for it. It's going to be for civilian and military, and they're projecting the year 2000. What they're doing is they're putting a lot of plutonium there. And what they were attempting to do is to develop the capability to be able to shoot down. So, for instance, if China launches the ICBM, you got half an hour, you can't knock it out. But if you had in this space station as one of your goals the ability to send down a powerful laser to destroy these bases, you neutralize the threat. Then the blackmail comes back. In other words, the United States can't blackmail China, India, Pakistan, the countries anymore because they have the bomb. They have the delivery system. So you try to get one up on them. So when they keep going up in those space shuttles, they're putting together a space station to get an advantage over you again. Because remember, these are basically Germans. They came on the world scene, as Professor Mackey teaches us through history, as marauders. And they're still scavenging. Let's go over to the left side. Satellites. If you want some satellites, you can get it from China, India, Pakistan, North Korea, or Russia. So we can buy satellites. We don't have to worry about the West selling it to us. We can purchase it. When we get our factories, we can make it. Who will launch it for you? China will launch it. India will launch it. Japan will launch your satellites. Russia will launch it. The U.S. and Europe may not launch it for you. Europe launches their space station is in French Guiana. The space station for Russia is in the former Khuzestan. That's off limits. The Asians don't let the Russians use it anymore, so they got to come to America. You want to get missiles? You got China, India, North Korea, Pakistan, or Russia. You want to get the uranium you need to make the bomb, if that's what you want? You got all the uranium in Africa. You can buy from China, India, North Korea, Pakistan, and Russia. Now let's go on the bottom half here, because when you understand on how we have to build a continent, you have to deal with it as a comprehensive. You need your economists, you need them growing the food, but you also need somebody dealing with weapons for protection.
Yo, what's up, Art? Look at this art in the dark.
So that you'll be in a position to compete. Uranium is a fuel, and it's uranium-239.
My Pew 239 space explosive
Uranium
modulator.
238, uranium-238, 238, and you have uranium-235. This is the uranium isotope that is fissionable. You can split it to get energy. This is not. But when you mine the uranium, 99.3% is this uranium, and only 0.7% is this fissionable. So you must get a lot of uranium, and you must process it or enrich it, so that you bring the fuel content down to 235 has to be brought, uranium-235 has to be brought up to 3%. In order to enrich it, when you hear about they're trying to stop this technology, you need centrifuge, you need magnets and stuff. So what the United States is attempting to do is block the sale of nuclear reactors to different countries. Because in order to use a nuclear reactor, you want to take uranium here, and you stick it into your nuclear plant, like you burn a piece of coal or some oil. When you take uranium and put it into a nuclear plant and split the atom, you produce heat. This heat is then used to boil water, and the water is then used, the steam, to run generators to generate electricity. So what's the most important part of a nuclear plant? To generate electricity, right? But when you generate electricity, when you look at the nuclear reaction of uranium-238, 235 uranium, and you get plutonium plus heat.
This man giving you that science, no? It's that science.
This plutonium can be put into another type of nuclear reactor called a breeder reactor.
Hell yeah, I'm interested in painting a muscle car
But it
collage.
can be siphoned off as the bomb. Any country that has make bombs. Because the byproduct of burning uranium in the nuclear plant to generate heat, you get plutonium, and that plutonium you put in a breeder reactor here, and then you get the material you need. So you need a certain amount of uranium to produce a certain amount of plutonium, which you can then siphon off at bombs, and that's how they try to calculate. Any country can do this. Russia told you, I'll sell you anything. Russia's trading with Iran 3 nuclear plants, trading with India 3 nuclear plants. Africans can buy it anytime they want. If and when they get ready, they will sell it to you. So you don't have any problem there. You have money, you will buy whatever it is that you need. As we go on, North Korea plans to continue the missile development. So we get a little more detail. So even though we now deal with the IMF, okay, let me do this first. Let's tie in China in terms of this important article in case we run out of time. China is here. Okay. In 1996, there was a dispute between China and the United States. And China is here, and Taiwan is here. Japan is up here. The Seventh Fleet is here. For whatever the reason China wanted to do it, it started threatening Taiwan. It started shooting missiles from China across the Taiwanese Strait. It's overshooting Taiwan. Okay? And one of the things they were doing was threatening to block up the shipping lane, because if missiles are coming over, they say they were practicing. Somebody's going to shoot a missile over you to practice. You're not going to bring your ships in. So what they were doing was disrupting the trade. Plus they were threatening. They built up their forces. The United States says to China, look, you can't do this. The United States goes to these Asian diplomats, the Burmese, the Vietnamese, and say, why don't we all get together against China? So the diplomats of Asia said, wait, we just got here 50 years ago. China's been here for 3,000. It's going to be here when you're born. So that nixed all of that. In other words, you're on your own. The United States told China that if they move against Taiwan, they're going to make a war on China. Well, China said, look, we can't sit around and be pounded like Iraq. So we go to Saturday, April 5th, 1997, when Buchanan is talking again. They don't like this man. And what is he saying? And I read you. With his blunt statement. So this was in 1997. He's reporting on what China told the United States in 1996 over this Taiwan thing. With his blunt statement to China that America will fight to defend Taiwan, Newt Gingrich put on the table for national debate this question. So Gingrich goes to China and says, we'll fight you over Taiwan. That's what he said in 1997. But Gingrich forgot what the Chinese told him in 1996. And then Newt Gingrich is asking the question, will America go to war over an island that China claims as its sovereignty? The question is immediate and mortally serious. 2 years ago, a Chinese official told a visitor that United States would not interfere with the recovery of Taiwan because we like Los Angeles too much. Implication: China will risk nuclear war rather than permanent loss of Taiwan. China has, that they tell you, 19 ICBMs. When you use nuclear weapons, depending upon the size, nuclear weapons can deliver a certain amount of energy or destruction. When you want to destroy a whole city, like you want to take out New York City completely, you go to hydrogen weapon. Much more energy. They call them city bombs. Now, Russia has, on their missiles, they have the capacity to deliver about 10 million megatons, they say. 10 million megatons will destroy New York City. China has 19 ICBMs and 13 are permanently targeted to the United States. They They told him what we will do when this war starts. We're going to first destroy LA, and then we take out the western coast of the United States, and we work our way over. Now, you may have 10,000 nuclear weapons, and maybe out of that 10,000, you may have 2,000 or 1,500 that you can drop on us. But you can't take 13 hydrogen bombs. You can forget Boston, New York, Washington, D.C., all your ports. You can destroy the country. That's what backed the United States up, or for that war. And when China can now deliver the threat of devaluating its dollar, the United States can no longer come to it with a gun and say, this is what you do, like they threatened Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh said, drop the bomb. I'm not stopping the war. The United States and Russia have used these weapons as blackmail to people, or white mail. It's really white mail. Okay? And it goes on, and the Chinese says, as the vice commander of the Beijing Academy of Military Sciences said a year ago, 1996, as for the United States, for a relatively long time, it will be absolutely necessary that we quietly nurture our sense of vengeance. Payback. We must conceal our abilities and bide our time. The quote introduces the coming conflict with China. Goes on. So what we're saying is, you got a world that has rapidly changed and still rapidly changing. Korea is dealing with their missiles here, and they tell you, we have them that go 3,000 miles. They're for sale. This nuclear reactor business, North Korea officials have announced that they are suspending their effort to carry out the 1994 nuclear freeze agreement. To show you as we tail in, as we wind down, to show you how important nuclear weapons are. North Korea this is North Korea and South Korea, China. North Korea has nuclear reactors, and they get plutonium to make bombs. So North Korea has the plutonium.
Damn, boy, that shit look good.
So what North Korea does
Yeah. You better give me some stars, because this shit look good.
Across Japan. And they're 600 miles missiles, and now they got one that goes 3,000 miles.
If I had a favorite sports team, I'd make one of these shits of my damn self. Because goddamn, that's Cowboy Nation. Cowboy Nation.
So United States make a deal with North Korea, say, look,
yo,
don't
it's just
shut down
flicking the
these
wrist.
reactors. Don't use
Flicking the
them,
wrist.
and I'll give you something. Let's see what they offer.
I'm telling you.
North Korean officials have announced that they are suspending the effort to carry out the 1994
All right, guys, let me chat for a minute. Iron Soul. How much do you charge a piece like this for sale? Happy you asked. This is my standard size canvas. This is an 18 by 24 inch canvas. And for my standard size canvas, a portrait of one person, it starts at $400. Now, depending on the detail, the complexity within the photograph that you want me to paint will determine how much more above that $400 I will charge you, and you have to pay for your own shipping. So let's just say if the whole background was completely blank, there wasn't anything back here, and he just had on a solid red shirt, it'd be a lot easier to paint that than it is to paint this. So that project would be much closer to the $400 mark. Now, if he had on a plaid hat and a stripe or checkered or polka dot shirt, and there was trees and cars and everything in the background, of course the price would increase because there's more content and there's more detail that I would have to put into that same portrait. So it really all depends. But I say $400 as a starting price because I will not do any project for less than $400. I really don't care what it is. I feel like my art is decent enough and precise enough where you can at least give me $400 for a project. So that's the starting price, like I say. And this is the standard size canvas. Now I have larger canvases, 20 by 22 by 24, 24 by 36, 36 by 48. Then I have some odd sizes like 20 by 20, I even have some smaller canvases that are like 14 by 16. Even for a 14 by 16 canvas, my starting price is still $400. Some people even say that I use this size because it's a small medium. You know what I'm saying? Size, and it's easy to fit on almost any wall without taking up too much space, and then it's still large enough where you can see the image from across the room, and it's very noticeable. And plus, when you go to buy a frame for it, getting a custom frame or buying a frame for this size canvas won't cost you too much money. They're fairly inexpensive, so I kind of use this as my starting point. So even if you want a smaller canvas, because people have asked for smaller canvases, then this 18 by 24 inch, I still my starting price is still $400. So my starting price will not drop, but it does increase as the canvas size increase. So if you want the next size canvas up above this one, the price automatically goes up $100. So the starting price would go from $400 to $500, and then if you want a 24 by 36, the starting price is $600, and for the larger canvases, the starting price can be anywhere from $700 to $800 just to start the project. And then it still would determine, once again, on the level of detail. If it's 3 people, a dog, a cat, and a baby, once again, the price would be much more expensive than if it was just a portrait of one person. Oh yeah, thank you guys. And this is a paid commission that I'm doing for a friend of mine. Here's the source photo. My man's just chilling. I think he's a Cowboys fan. I'm not really sure, but I may be mistaken. He might like the Raiders or the Steelers, but you know. So instead of putting the background back there like that, is obviously it's his vehicle. Um, I kind of switched it up a little bit. I just used my my own idea, really. The client didn't really ask me or tell me to do this, but I thought it would look a little more cooler than, I don't know, just the car. If you could have seen more of the car, maybe I would have did it like that. And like it looks like it's autumn or the beginning of winter, and the trees have no leaves on it. There's not a lot of green. The sky is kind of gray, so it didn't really seem like that background was that intense, or it added, to the picture itself, because he is the main focus of the picture. The background really doesn't add that much to the photograph. So by me taking it out and altering it a little bit, I didn't feel like it would add or subtract a little, too much. I think actually just his whole get up, his whole outfit, and then having the large logo and stripes, it just looks cool. It kind of makes it look like he's at a stadium somewhere, or he could have been, posted up against a billboard or something, maybe. And I don't know, I like it. He's really cool with it, and it's looking good. And so now I actually have to let this dry. For the most part, the entire canvas is wet. Yesterday I worked on. Oh, I can work on his beard. His beard needs just very slight highlights here and there. But I worked on his face and his jacket yesterday, and so most of that is still pretty wet. I just did the letters for the Cowboys, which is still wet, and you guys see me go over the background trying to get that gray to blend in there a little much and give him like this halo shadow effect around him, and then as it brightens up towards the edges. So this canvas is almost completely wet. There's not a lot more I can really do with it right now. So I probably will be putting this to the side for like maybe a day or two, and just letting the paint dry a little bit and tack up enough so that I can add some more details to it. But I wanted to fade out his beard just a little bit. Um, I hope this color is still wet. Yeah. So his facial hair is mostly black, but I'm gonna add this looks black, but it's a dark brown. This is Van Dyke brown. So I'm gonna add a little Van Dyke brown and probably some burnt umber to his beard a little bit. Let me put this back on real quick, guys.
Was intended to dismantle the country's nuclear program, protesting that United States had failed to honor promises to send fuel oil. North Korea said, well, if I'm using these plants to make energy, electricity, but you really don't want me to use them because you know I'm going to get the bomb as a byproduct, you want me to shut them down, well, you got to replace my energy need. So the United States said, okay, we'll give you what? The United States was supposed to send fuel oil. A high-ranking member of the North Korean government told a visiting academician, he said, because you're not sending the oil, we're going to unseal the nuclear reactor. Under the agreement was to have been closed permanently. They said, okay, we're going to open it up again. We're going to start using it again. You know, when we start using it to make electricity, what we're going to make more of? Plutonium. Barred technicians from packing the last of the reactor's spent fuel. When you have a nuclear reactor, when these fuel rods are used, the uranium is put on rods, like shish kebab. And when the reaction changes, the plutonium are located on these rods. You take out the plutonium rod, and you send them to reprocessing. It is these rods with the plutonium that North Korea was supposed to seal and then ship out. Say, okay, we'll do it. Now, you think you're going to tell the United States how many rods you got? So this is what the deal was. So they said, tell the technicians, stop packing the last of these reactor rods for shipment out of the country. The rods contain plutonium that can be used in nuclear weapons. They said, okay, America, you won't ship the fuel? Because South Korea, Japan, and America, who all want them to shut down the plant. Because North Korea threatens South Korea, it threatens Japan. So it was South Korea, Japan, and America who were supposed to fund all of this fuel and stuff so they'll stop using the reactor. Well, of course, Japan is broke, so they're not sending anything. South Korea is broke, and the United States is broke. So nobody's sending them the oil. So they said they're going to reopen the plant. This is, in America, they're saying when they reopen a nuclear plant, this is how they describe it. This is like someone dusting off his old 45 and making sure that it shines, but not loading it. See, you have to be able to get the message. Under the 1994 agreement, North Korea pledged to dismantle its nuclear program in exchange for American promise to coordinate the building of 2 lightweight reactors. So in other words, they don't want you to use this one. They want you to use another reactor that doesn't generate plutonium. But of course, the United States didn't build the reactors, and they didn't ship the oil because they don't have the money and the material to do it. To coordinate the building of 2 lightweight reactors to generate electricity and to deliver 500 metric tons of oil annually. So the reason that I show you the article, or to read about it, is to show you how important these nuclear reactors are just with the threat. Korean Central News Agency expressed deep displeasure with the pace of the U.S. effort, hinted that the North Korean government might restart its nuclear program. North Korea should no longer lend an ear to these empty promises. It goes on. And then we talk about, we're going to end, as we end up, we're going to talk very briefly about the Chinese missiles that they sold them. United States private businesses sold China's. The United States wants to launch satellites, okay? But they don't have the capability. A lot of American launches of their satellites blow up. So they're looking for other sources. They go to the Europeans, they're not good. So So what the United States did was these two private companies went to China and said to China, why don't you launch some of these satellites? China says, okay, it's big money. So the American companies go to China to launch the satellites.
All right.
And so there's a big stink about China launching these satellites.
Manny Machado. Who is that? Come on, man. You got to
Machado
educate me real quick.
At a housing hearing.
Manny Machado. I'm not sure who that is, yo. Yeah, my brother giving you all the science behind these nuclear programs and the political and economic reasons why America doesn't want everybody to have nuclear weapons. Because if they got weapons, then America can't threaten motherfuckers with weapons. Bitch, we'll blow you up. They be like, bitch, I'll blow you right back up too then. Fuck it. Let's go. I'll take my 45 off the shelf and dust that motherfucker off too. Baseball player? Man, I can paint whatever you want, bro. Whatever you want. If the price is right. Come on down. Let's make a deal. See that new hat? Brand new. Just got this thing yesterday. Nice and crispy, yo. I've been looking at these hats for a minute. It's from a black-owned clothing apparel. Ma'at. Ma'at is the Egyptian system of peace and love, energy, positive vibrations. See, you got got the Ankh, the Black Madonna up there, all the Egyptian symbols and shit. Just trying to do my part to support the community, yo. Buy black, whatever you can. Oh shit, I'm dropping stuff. I'm just trying to clean these get these brushes cleaned out real quick. There's a good chance I might shut the stream down in a little while, guys. I was streaming for almost an hour, and then my internet went out. And then I started back up the stream, so actually I've been on for about 2 hours now. And it's Saturday, so yep. Alright. But these two paintings I'm working on here, both of these are commissions, and they're both really at a stopping point right now. So I can just go back to working on some of my own personal projects for like a day or so. Getting paint all over my hands. That's why I wear my paint pants, so I can just wipe my hands like this. It's all good. But yeah, so I'm working on this one as well. I've been showing this a lot. Very nice painter. This is mother and son, and the son is having these two portraits done. Like I said, I think he's a Cowboys fan. Maybe. Strong possibility this dude likes the Cowboys. That's tight. That's tight. I like that. That's nice. I said if I was a sports guy and I had a team, I'll throw him all my team apparel and take a picture like that and have me like a custom painting made too, yo. That shit is pretty fucking fresh. You could just see that shit hanging in his man cave with all the rest of his other cowboy paraphernalia and apparel. Probably got like 2 or 3 cowboy hats hanging somewhere. Hang his painting right beside it. Like, yeah, cowboy everything. No, here's a 49ers, huh? You might as well go ahead and get your shit done, bro. Doing all your 49er shit. And this is a painting of his beautiful mother. It's coming along nicely. So yeah, these two are, like I say, they're pretty much at stopping points for a while. I really wanted to get this one finished first, get this one completely done, wrapped up, and let it sit and dry for anywhere from 4 to 6 days, so I know it's nice and dry before I ship it out in the mail. And I use UPS. The best thing about UPS is there is a local UPS that's literally just a few blocks from where I live at, and the owner, he's a local owner. He lives in the community, and I've built up a really good rapport with him. He's actually purchased a piece of my art, and it's to the point where I do so many commissions and I ship off so much art that for my standard size canvas, these 18 by 24s, they have custom boxes like pre-made for me, because you think it would be like a average size, but it's not. They have a box that is exactly 18 by 24. So if you put this in it, and when you put one of these paintings in it, there's hardly any room for the packaging material, the bubble wrap and the styrofoam peanuts and all that. So you really can't fit that. And the next size box they had was just like a little too much, and it adds on to the price of the shipping because of the size of the box. And so they actually make custom boxes just for me, and I think they say they keep like 10 or 12 on hand at a time, so when it gets down to like, if they only have like 4 or 5 boxes, they'll go ahead and make a couple more and just try to keep 10 of them there waiting for me. So your painting will come in a custom box where you know it won't be damaged. I've shipped art twice to the UK. I've shipped a painting to Japan. I've shipped a painting as far as Alaska, and no one has ever complained about their artwork being damaged in the travel process, because those guys at UPS, they're fucking awesome, for one, and for two, they know that I really, really am really dedicated to my art and the quality of my art, and I'm loyal to my customers, and so I don't want anything to fall back on me as far as damage and anything like that. And of course, they don't want anything to fall back on them and their reputation as a shipping company. So it always works out for the best. And they handle these paintings with extreme care and delicacy, so that they're never damaged in the shipping process. I hope that continues. I have no reason to doubt that I would ever get like a email from somebody like, yo, my painting was crumpled, or it had a hole in it, or the frame was broken in the back or something like that. I've never heard that before. And they always get there on time and in one piece. So as soon as these two pieces are done, they will be on their way to Virginia, believe it or not. Which is pretty cool. Like, I have art in so many states, yo, like literally almost all 50 states. I need to get some more shit out Midwest, like the Dakotas. I don't think I have anything in the Dakotas, but I have like art in Washington State, California, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Texas, Arizona, all up and down the East Coast, almost every state up and down the East Coast, except for like, no, I think I have a piece in Maine, and I didn't send it to Maine. I did a piece for a guy, another local guy, but it was for his brother's Christmas present, and his brother lives in Maine, so a roundabout way, it's still in Maine. Uh, let's see, Michigan, uh, Chicago. There's like, my art is really getting everywhere, and is pretty badass. Alabama. I'm not sure if I got a piece down there. Let me think. Alabama. I don't know. You from Alabama, man? You gotta order some art, man, so I can get a piece of art in every state, yo. All 50 states. I had some art on display for a while at one of my homeboy shops. I went over there yesterday and kind of swapped out some stuff. So I'll show you the pieces that I had hanging up there. Paint you a portrait of a purple spider. Hey, is the insect, or not the insect? Spiders are arachnids. So do you want a purple spider, or like the car, the spider, the automobile? So which one? How do I cost to make something? I mean, you said it kind of weird, but I understand what you're saying. How do you cost, bro, to make something? My starting canvas size, or my standard canvas size, is 18 by 24 inch canvas. It's just like the two that I just showed you guys. That's my standard size canvas. Um, and my starting price is $400. So it's all it's all good, dog. But yeah, so $400 is the starting price that can get you anything started. And then once again, it depends on exactly what is in the photograph, which will determine your final price and how much more above that $400 I'll charge you. And you have to pay for your own shipping. My man Shad, yo. Really? Man, I keep thinking about getting a gaming chair too, yo, because my cousin, he has one. He's an Xbox fan. I don't know if it was specifically an Xbox chair, but man, his shit got like the headrest, and the headrest got speakers in it, and the whole shit is fucking Bluetooth, and it got chargers for your fucking controller and shit. And all I use is this old ass office chair. This is my gaming chair. Like I had one gaming chair, but it didn't sit high. It was one of those the lower ones that sit on the floor that you can kind of rock back and forth in, and the speakers were kind of crappy in it. And I really didn't like it just because it set so low to the floor. It's basically for kids, it's like a kid sized chair. Yeah, but like I wouldn't mind having a nice gamer chair because this is what I use. But I do like the swivel on this, so when I put on my when I go VR, you know what I'm saying? I can fucking just turn around the whole room like, oh shit, and do that. So like the gaming chair my cousin got, it turns, but I don't think it's like a 360 radius. Well, you really wouldn't need 360 for the VR because you'll get tangled up in the wire. But I definitely want to invest in a gaming chair. But right now, man, for this year, I kind of made uh, you know, I kind of told myself I'm not going to invest in too much more gaming equipment this year because I just got other investments I want. Uh, Getting my passport this year, so I want to save up for a trip abroad next year, and I want to get more weapons, and so like a $400 or $500 gaming chair, I'd look at that and was like, damn, I can buy a handgun for that shit. You know what I'm saying? So I think this year I'm making less game investments and try to invest in a little bit other stuff, and try to save up for a trip to Africa or somewhere like that next year. But I don't know. I am gonna get a couple video games. I gotta get that Wildlands, yo. That Wildlands looks too awesome, yo. I ain't even gonna lie. I gotta play that. Uh, do I make songs? Like songs? Like I used to rap, but I don't make music no more. Yeah, we got the two big packs, so there was like a grand for both of the headsets. So yeah, the VR headsets, the charger, and it came with both wands, like the $500 pack. So yeah, I keep thinking about that shit. Like I could have got me a fucking AR for that shit or something. It's crazy. That Red Dead, I really do want to get that too bad, but I don't know. I got so many games I don't even finish, yo. That's what be killing me, buying games and not even really finishing them. But they got some good shit coming out this year, man. We got some really good shit coming out this year. Yeah, I actually deleted some of my stuff off of YouTube by accident, and earlier this morning I was trying to put some of my videos back on YouTube, and I could not figure out how to do that shit, yo. Like I tried for like 2 hours to make a new video, and I think that my new laptop doesn't have the proper software to format it. Yo, wait, that's what it is, bro. Yeah, you can check out a lot of my art on my Instagram or my Facebook community page, and they both have the same title, Paintings by the Prince. My last name is actually Prince, so a lot of people are like, why do you call it that? Because that's my name. So definitely, if you have a Facebook account or a Instagram account, just look me up too at Paintings by the Prince, and you can check out a lot of my art, yo. God damn. I was looking at a Springfield subcompact 45. That shit is small, but that shit got that wham in it. Wham, wham. You know what I'm saying? Got that wham in it. So this is the next size up from, or is it the next size up from this? Yeah, so essentially so the next size canvas is twice as large as the the 18 by 24. So if you wanted a larger size canvas, you can see like the size difference in the two canvases. Is essentially two 18 by 24-inch canvases. But this is some work I did late last year. I've only actually completed one. Well, these two paintings are almost done. So it's February. I completed one painting so far this year. It was a larger one that I it came from last year. I worked on it all through December and first half of January. And I got a couple other projects started that are, they're at various points and stages, but they're not completed yet. But this is some of the stuff I got through with late last year. A picture I did of my son. The dream is free, but the hustle is so separate. You just always remember that, yo. You can dream all you want. Dreaming. Go ahead, dream it up. Dreams are good. You know what I'm saying? But that hustle, you gotta pay for that. You gotta put that grind in. You gotta put that work. You gotta put that effort. You gotta put that footwork in there if you really want your dream to come to fruition. If you really want it to come true, you gotta hustle. But that's what they don't really teach you. That hustle sold separately. You know what I'm saying? The dream is free. The dream is free, but the hustle is sold separately. I like to show examples of finished work because some people will look at some of my projects at, once again, like I said, at different points in the process, and sometimes they assume that they're finished when they're not really finished. But this is a finished painting, and it is signed by the great one himself, the TP. Yeah, it's dope, right? To let you know, I added the graphics afterwards. My son did not actually spray paint a wall or deface any kind of public property. This is another one I finished last year of a local model. You see, she got that. You see that onk. She got that. She got that onk tattoo. Yeah, them bricks, yo. I used the paint knife to get that effect on those bricks. It did turn out really well. Actually, it turned out a lot better than I thought it would be. Cause I don't use the paint knife a lot, but I tried it. Like whenever I see an opportunity to use it, I really do try to utilize that paint knife. But it's a technique that you have to put time in and practice. And since I don't use it a lot, when I do pull it out, it's like I hope this shit looks right. But yeah, those bricks came out really, really nice. I actually used the same technique here with the knife effect to kind of get that marble, that choppy, rough brick look on there. Get that texture in there, man, to make that shit look real, bro. Once again, nice finished sign painting by your boy. Bob Ross. everybody, everybody knows Bob Ross. Old white dude with the afro. I'm telling you, yo, the one who paint the happy trees and shit, yo. We we don't make mistakes. We just have happy accidents, you know. Just a mountain here and a forest, the trees just live here by themselves, right by the waterfall. And just any way you want it. It's just nature, it's natural. There's no real order to how it goes. Yeah, that was my dude, yo. Like I would literally get mad, like, cause his show came on, like 3:30 or something like that. Whatever time it came on, like I had to leave school and go straight home to catch that shit. I had to go straight. 'Cause I used to walk. I live close enough to the school where I walk. So sometimes motherfuckers bullshit around after school and shit in the playground or whatever. Or stop by a friend house or something. Then I'd be like, oh shit, Bob Ross. Try to run home, and then it was this lady came on right after Bob Ross. Hers was single stroke painting or something like that. And then there was this dude who came on right after her. He was a watercolor artist. His shit was dope too, but he just did watercolors. But I had to make it home to fucking catch that Bob Ross episode, yo. From time to time, I still just like YouTube, like some Bob Ross, and just watch like a little 30-minute show, and watch him put some shit together, yo. But he was the man, yo. His show ran for like 6 or 7 years or something. Just think of that shit. Every day for 7 years, this dude did like a new painting in 30 minutes. I mean, I can imagine like when he passed away, just the stockpile of art he had just laid up somewhere, probably like 1,000 and something paintings. You know what I'm saying? Uh, I'm not a sports guy, bro. I have never in my life watched a sporting event from beginning to end. And then I get this right here. Not even basketball? No, not even basketball. Like, sorry, dude. I got, like, when I wear sports teams hats, people like, oh, you like that team? Da, da, da. I'm like, no, bro, I got this hat because it matches my sneakers, not because the team. I could really care less about the team. I got it for the colors. I think I do have a Thunder hat, but I got it because it matches my LeBron's. Am I wrong for that? Does LeBron play for the Thunders? Or no, but anyway, like I buy hats to match my shoes. I don't buy hats to really represent the team. But so yeah, KD, I think I know who that is, maybe, and he went back to the Warriors. that's awesome, I guess. Uh, the Cavaliers, I don't. I don't know, bro. Like, really, I'm not big on that. So I've never watched the entire basketball game. Not even when Jordan was playing or Kobe. I've never watched the entire football game. Like that shit really doesn't interest me at all. No, I got a Michael Jordan T-shirt. I don't even wear Jordans. I don't even own like one pair. I don't have one pair of Jordans, yo. I don't really like his shoes at all. Jordans, all of them look kind of weird to me. And then plus they're so popular that you got to pay like $800 to have a pair that nobody else has, or you have to get some customized because it doesn't matter what Jordan you wear. Like you're gonna go somewhere and like three other people got the same fucking shoes you got on. So I mean, I don't know. Just really not into that. So this is this is all the caps, all the like baseball caps I have. This one is brand new. I just got this thing yesterday. Like I said, my homie has a clothing store, and so every time I go in his shop, I try to spend a couple dollars to support his business. And so he has this new Ma'at apparel. He has hats, t-shirts, jackets, and so I just picked up one of these hats yesterday because it's so fly, and it's made by a black-owned company. So definitely had to support that and get the all red hat popping off. Michael Jackson. I've never painted Michael Jackson. I really stay away from like celebrities or athletes and things like that because their image is so popular. There is probably no image of Michael Jackson that I can find that no one has ever seen. You know what I'm saying? So since every picture of Michael Jackson has already been seen by almost everybody who loves Michael Jackson, and his image has been painted, hundreds of thousands of times. How many people have painted Michael Jackson or drew a picture of him or whatever, made a collage or anything? So I feel like people like that, really, really iconic figures, there's their image has been reproduced so many times. There's really nothing new I can do with it other than just my style of painting may not look like someone else's, but I would still have to use like the same picture of Michael Jackson that somebody else has already used, and I find that pointless. You know what I'm saying? I want to paint images that no one has seen or that are particularly unique. So, oh, why don't you paint Tupac? Because Tupac has been painted thousands of times, and Biggie, and Run DMC, and Prince, and Michael Jackson, and Whitney Houston, and everybody else. So really, really iconic faces or celebrities or images like that. I stay away from it. I've done some pop art, but not much. I painted Michonne from The Walking Dead because I love The Walking Dead and I love Michonne character. So yeah, I painted her. Uh, but other than that, there's like, yeah, Bruno Mars. I'm not gonna paint him. But I get hats to match my shoes. This hat I also brought from my homie from the same store. The the play hat. Then the classic black A hat. Bruno Mars is your bae. Wow. And this was one of my these were my red hats that I would wear with red shirts. But now I got this new red hat to wear with my red shirts with the Hawks. There's another one. I really like this hat. I just like that logo for some reason. I actually painted myself with this hat on. So here's one of the larger canvases that I do, which you probably can't afford. I'm not hating on you or nothing like that, but you probably can't afford this. But yeah, as you can see, That's the hat I'm wearing in this picture. All the way down to the little sticker on the front of it. Yeah, cause I was fly, super fly. Paint myself with my hats on. Yeah, sports logos. I know, but I don't care about sports logos. Really. You know what I'm saying? Just cause it matches. Look how nice that looks, man. And I had on some red shoes that night, yo. Had on my red LeBrons with the red and white hat and the gray and the white shirt. I was fresh, bruh. Fresh. I looked to coordinate. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have a mushroom jacket with the mushroom vest, with the mushroom belt. Gotta coordinate. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter what the logo is, really. Shit just gotta match. It gotta match. The shit gotta go together. Oh, seen that? Got this one. Warriors. Got a Warriors. Got the white with the gray and the speckles. Little speckles on there. The way I got some white and gray Air Forces. And shit goes perfect with those, yo. Just go perfect. Then I got the blue LeBrons to go with these. I wear a lot of red and gray, so this can go with almost anything with the black brim, a red brim on the inside. Back to that red. You know what I'm saying? That shit is hot. Then red again for the Flyers. Ah, y'all thought I wasn't gonna know that shit, yo. Yeah, Philly Flyers. Is that Philly Flyers? I think so. Yeah, but the red and blue. Once again with that red, because I wear a lot of red, man. I'm not in a gang or anything. That shit just looks good on me. I'm just saying. But yeah, I don't be wearing these shits really because of the teams or nothing. I just wear them because they match. Gotta match, man. Yo, Mark, I will definitely talk to you later, dude. Oh. Show you guys these other paintings I haven't had. They haven't been home for a while, yo. Like a couple months maybe. And I miss them when they're gone so long. Especially if they're just on display. If they're not, if they get sold, it's different because at least I know it's in somebody's home and it's being taken care of and it's being admired every day. But sometimes when they're on display, they kind of get ignored a little bit. I don't like my art to be ignored at all. I paint myself a lot, as you can see. This is another self-portrait. And I write poetry, so this is from my writer series. So I did 3 self-portraits and I wrote 3 poems on each of the canvases. But the poems come from different times. So I wrote this poem when I was 15, and then the next poem I wrote 10 years later when I was 25, and then the last poem I wrote 10 years after that when I was 35. And so it's a progression of my awareness to the world and my writing ability. Man, I thought you was gone, man. I definitely gonna add you though, bro. So yeah, it was more or less like the growth of my writing ability, which wasn't that much. I struggle when I write. Um, Drawing and painting comes way more natural to me than writing does. I really, really have to like concentrate when I'm writing. Here's a portrait I did of my niece, cause she's so pretty. I think she was 8, maybe. I think she was 8 years old in this painting. Well, in this photograph. I was gonna go, but then you start showing some more shit. But yeah, my niece is really cute. We were at my aunt's house for a cookout, and I was like, "Yo, let me take some pictures of you." And she's like, "Okay, Uncle Travis." And so she let me get a couple of pictures of her, and I decided to paint this one. And it came out pretty good. I like this painting. I still enjoy looking at this. And then there's one more. I did this one a while ago, but like I said, it was on display for a while too. This one isn't too expensive. I got it listed for 2,500. Come on, who won? 2,500. You got it. Everybody, y'all got them tax returns coming. You know what I'm saying? This is the educational piece. Message to the black man. The theology of time. They came before Columbus. When rocks cry out. And 48 laws of power. Just a little bit of literature for y'all to pick up if y'all have not read these books, man. I strongly advise you to get copies of these books, man, into your library. But this is one of my homies right here, yo. My man Kyrie. I just hit him up like, yo, what you doing today? He was like, shit, chilling. I'm like, yo, I'm about to come over and take some pictures of you. He's like, pictures for what? I'm like, pictures, man, I'm gonna paint it, man. Are you gonna paint a picture of me? Oh man, that's dope, yo. And then he got all excited. I was like, hell yeah. So I just went over to his house and uh, I was like, you got some books? Well, some of these books are mine. That's his copy of Message to the Black Man. He's like, yeah, I got books. I said, I know, because you're a smart black man. Smart people read. And in order to read, you got to have books. So it was kind of a rhetorical, redundant question. But so we just set up in his living room. Really, really simple arrangement, but I think it has a strong impact, and it looks good. That brown leather couch. But see, it's brown leather, but it has, blues and oranges and yellows in there to make it stand out like that. This is a piece I get a lot of compliments on, actually, on my website. I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of compliments about this painting. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Don't fall. All right, just a little private screening of some of my art that I got going on right there. But it is lunchtime. Boom, got that message. You feel me? Got that. But I think I'm gonna clean up the living room now, and probably grab me a quick lunch and play some video games for a minute. And like I said, I got some personal projects that I'm working on. So if you follow me on Facebook, you should follow my regular page too. Just Travis Prince. You'll be able to see my profile picture. It looks just, I always look normal up there. So yeah, follow my art Facebook page, which is Paintings by the Prince, the community page. Follow my personal Facebook link, which is Travis Prince. Follow my Instagram, which is also Paintings by the Prince. So you can always keep up with the new projects that I'm doing. And sometimes I stream live from Facebook, and I don't know, it's just easier for me to stream live from Facebook because I can access it easier in my art studio upstairs, and that's where all my supplies and stuff is at, and I don't have to drag everything down here to the living room. I paint in the living room because I use the PlayStation for the YouTube, but like I say, Facebook Live is really popular, and it's a lot easier just to stream from the phone and just set up my phone upstairs in the studio and stream from up there. So if you always want to catch me painting, follow me on all my links and everything, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. But yeah, maybe later this evening I'll be streaming from upstairs in the studio. All right, I got you. But appreciate everybody hanging out with me and chilling with me for a little while. Appreciate all the wonderful compliments and comments and some of the great questions that I received today. And just always remember, man, work towards your own dreams. If you're not working towards your own dreams, you're working towards somebody else's, and that does you no good at all. So always focus on your own dreams, work towards your own dreams, you know what I'm saying? Keep a positive attitude, and you got to stay motivated, man. If you have any kind of talent, man, invest in yourself, invest in your craft, invest in your talent. Consciously pursue your talents to make yourself better, and so you can hone your skills, hone your craft, so that you can master your talent. And when you have mastered your talent, you got to figure out a way how to make money off of it. And that's living a dream, doing something and getting paid to do something that you already enjoy doing anyway. You know what I'm saying? Just once again, man, keep a positive attitude. That's the main thing. That's always key to everything, is staying positive. You hang around a lot of negative people who ain't got shit going for them, you probably gonna be a negative person who ain't got shit going for yourself. But as long as you hang around positive, motivated people, then you will always have a positive outlook and always have a positive motivation. Peace. Until next time.